Live from the studios of WUFT Gainesville, this is the Evening News, produced, prepared, and presented by advanced students of broadcasting in the College of Journalism and Communications at the University of Florida.
Good evening, I'm Bob Mayer, and this is Channel 5 News for Tuesday, May 27, 1969. The Apollo 10 astronauts returned to Houston today with the information needed by the Apollo 11 crew for their attempt to land on the moon in mid-July. The latest moon flyers returned to the Space Center, where they were welcomed with hugs and kisses by their families and the cheers of a big crowd and a playing band. Scheduled next is a debriefing of the Apollo 10 crew and the compiling of the data they accumulated during their moon flight. President Nixon today unveiled his plan to have a government-owned corporation run the Postal Service, but Capitol observers say the plan has little chance for congressional approval in its present form. The House Commerce Committee tentatively agreed to strengthen the health warning on cigarette packages today, but it rejected a motion to require the same warning in advertising. The bill's sponsor said the issue will be fought out on the House floor. 15 Senate Democrats, headed by Senator George McGovern, asked Congress today to impose a 37% war profits tax on corporation excess profits. The move would be a substitute for extending the income tax surcharge. French presidential candidate Alain Poher said today that he will make sweeping changes in French policy if he wins the election on June 1st. Poher, considered the frontrunner, made public plans for a complete overhaul of French politics, cast aside much of former President Charles de Gaulle's policy of French grandeur. He promised to increase his nation's cooperation with NATO and to work toward building a strong Europe with Britain. U.S. B-52s struck at communist concentrations last night after a series of rocket and mortar attacks on United States bases. The bombing raids were carried out in the Central Highlands, the northern coast, and around Saigon. Military spokesmen revealed that there have been 5,000 communist violations of the demilitarized zone since the U.S. bombing halt in November. Actor Jeffrey Hunter is dead at the age of 42. He died today of injuries suffered in a fall at his Van Nuys, California home. The Gainesville City Commission last night approved the hiring of a traffic engineer. City Manager B.H. Farmer said the traffic situation in Gainesville needs professional attention. The traffic engineer's job was included in the 1967-68 budget, but last fall the commission axed the bill in order to balance that budget. City Commissioner Cortland Collier unsuccessfully fought the budget cuts at the time and suggested that the cuts come from another department. Farmer told the commission that the need for a traffic engineer grows greater with each passing week. He said under the new proposal, the traffic engineer would be administratively placed under the Public Works Department, getting a salary of about $10,000 a year. Mayor Commissioner Walter Murphy said that $80,000 was found from appropriated surpluses of the prior fiscal year, which would help pay for the new expenditures. Murphy said the money was found after a city audit. Top awards for top professors. With that story, here's Willie Rawls.
Here's Bob.
A last-minute attempt to convince the state Senate to consider a bill abolishing tenure at state universities failed yesterday in Tallahassee. Despite Senator Richard Deeb's pleadings, the bill remained lodged in the Senate Rules Committee after the group refused to recommend it as an emergency measure. The St. Petersburg Republican introduced his bill after the 45-day limit for bills to be considered in this legislative session, and only bills declared emergencies can be taken up now in the closing days of the current legislative session. A reform bill placing more controls on lawmakers while giving them more powers today cleared the legislature and headed for Governor Claude Kirk. The reform bill requires the legislature to go through the same competitive bidding standards of all other state agencies, justify all expense accounts, and place $300 limits on monthly intra-district expenses requiring vouchers. The body of a 57-year-old Newberry man was dragged from a 40-foot deep water pit today while about 55 spectators looked on. The victim, Etham Bell, was a service employee of Lime Products. Bell drowned in a 2-ton fuel truck when he apparently slid into the water about 7 a.m. this morning. Bell was employed by the plant for approximately 4 years. His brother-in-law, Rand Williams, said Bell had complained of chest pains last week and that he might have suffered a heart attack before the accident. And now with sports, here's Andy Brackhold.
Lows cloud the weather scene, and with that, here's Bob.
In the national weather picture, a spring chill sent temperatures to record lows today in the Northeast, while the Midwest sweltered in an unseasonable heat wave. Concord, New Hampshire recorded 24 degrees. In the Plain States, the temperatures were in the 90s. Blythe, California was the hot spot in the nation with a reading of 107 degrees. In Gainesville today, the high was 77, while the low was 68. The present temperature is 77 degrees. The relative humidity is 82%. There were 39 1/100 inches of rain reported, and the barometer is standing at 29.85 inches of mercury. The winds are out of the northeast at 10 miles per hour. The forecast for Gainesville area calls for partly cloudy skies. Tomorrow's predicted high is in the upper 80s, while the expected low will be 65 to 70. Thundershower probability 60%, and the winds will be out of the east at 10 miles per hour. Warehouse guard Arthur Stewart was shot to death last night in Hialeah. Assistant State Attorney Roy Wood said another guard found the body in a small guardhouse. Wood said a .38 caliber pistol and a 12-gauge shotgun were taken, and that there was no sign of an attempt to enter the warehouse. 5% decrease in auto insurance premiums. That's what's in sight for elderly Floridians. State Insurance Commissioner Broward Williams told the Daytona Beach Rotary Club last night that the reduction comes as a result of a study into the driving habits of the elderly. The president of Merritt Chapman and Scott Corporation, David Reich, reported yesterday that multimillionaire financier Louis Wolfson has not drawn any salary since he was convicted of violations on the securities law. However, Elkin Gerbert, imprisoned with Wolfson, is being paid $42,000 a year for consultation services. And finally in the news tonight, the Apollo 10 astronauts are back on Earth, and everyone from space officials to the Russians seem pleased with their performance. Well, all except one. President of the Miami Bible College, Larry Polin, said the astronauts used, in his words, the language of the street when they swore during the time their lunar craft was wildly gyrating near the moon's surface. Polin said the astronauts should repent, in his words, their profanity, vulgarity, and blasphemy. There have been mixed reactions to this campaign against profanity. As Polin said, one guy told me, when I can walk on water, he will stop swearing. That's the news this Tuesday night. I'm Bob Mayer, Channel 5 News. Good night.